Dr. Vivek, Mr. Tej Kumar, and of course Lakshmi as well as Group Captain. It's an absolute delight to be here. I must confess something. When it was 16th December, Group Captain sent a message to me and told me that can you be the chief guest. There's been a tradition with me in the past, for the last 25 years. I'm always invited to speak on a subject where I have absolutely no knowledge. And Karakuri was absolutely something which I didn't have a clue. So, but every time, and one thing which I liked about what Tej said is, I try to learn from every time I'm asked to speak somewhere. And that kind of gets deposited somewhere and gets used at some point in time. And over the last 25 years, I've let the outside ideas come in, and I've had a porous mind, and that has helped me in some ways. So therefore, I must thank you, Group Captain, for inviting me to speak on a subject where I had absolutely no knowledge till December 16th, and now I'm supposed to speak on its benefits. So I'm glad that, but one thing is, Vivek, I read your entire 54-page report. So I said that before coming here, at least I should have this integrity to be able to say that I've read that report and I've tried to put something to it. Thank you. So that's great. So I think good morning. When we talk about innovation in industry today, I am a victim of that because I come from a very large group which invests quite a lot, and I was a bit embarrassed when you could have just removed the 12,000 crore investment. When this guy is talking about he spent 2 lakhs and then he said that, hey, a little bit of AI would have helped removing that sentence out of your introduction, right? I was a bit feeling embarrassed when I heard 12,000 crores and here is Tej Kumar saying that he spent 5,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees, and my friend Vicky Raja from Bangkok, I have to ask him, how do you spend 5,000 rupees and then he saved 75 lakhs? So it's really, so when we talk about innovation, you know, the conversation usually starts in the wrong place. It often starts with how much it will cost, what technology should we buy, which expert whom do we bring, what consultant will help us. And I can tell you that this is almost the same. You know, whenever I talk about some ideas, people always come up with his expertise, cost, capex, and everything else. I think the paper that was released by the team from GLIM as well as TGSIN, will you keep that South India even after you go away to North India? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was just thinking about whether you will have TGSIN and you change it as TGNIN, TGWIN or something. TGWIN is also not bad. Okay, when you go to Sambhajinagar, you can call it as TGWIN campus. Okay? So I think it actually raised a far more powerful and uncomfortable question. Why do we assume innovation has to be expensive in the first place? If innovation required large budgets, and only large companies would innovate very well. Anyone who has led large organizations like the one that I have led knows that that simply is not true. And I don't know how many of you know that the whole current revolution on AI is founded by some less than a group which had less than 15 people to start with. The DeepMind group, which started with Google's DeepMind before it became Google. It was a DeepMind Technologies company. In 2010, there were hardly 15 people who started this whole revolution that we're talking about, which is really changing the way the world is today. So we know that it is not necessary that innovation has to start with big ideas or with big organizations. And that's what is interesting about the white paper, because it repeatedly says that some of the best improvements in productivity, quality, and sustainability comes from ideas that cost almost nothing, but require really deep thinking, and that's where the challenge is. And I like what Tej talked about. I think that kind of thinking that comes from observation and forming a hypothesis and verifying it in the shop floor is very crucial. So I think when organizations say we cannot innovate because we don't have money, what they usually mean is we have stopped questioning how work is done. And one of the powerful statements is money does not create innovation, but constraints do. And I think the shop floor is one place where we're always constrained by resources, by time, by machines, by cost. And I think this is really what the Karakuri paper highlights. So I hope that many of you will go through the paper and get a sense of how to implement it. But it's a journey, as my speakers before have said, it's a journey. It's not something which is overnight. And for me, I think, so when you silence the shop floor, you will not get discipline, you get dumb systems. And quite a lot of our factories are very dumb, and dumb systems are very expensive. Another important truth is we often confuse complexity with progress. Okay? And more steps, more approvals, more dashboards. But Karakuri solutions, as documented in the paper, are elegant precisely because they're simple. We have several examples of that here. Gravity instead of motors, levers instead of software, flow instead of control. Simplicity is not cheapness, simplicity is clarity. And I think that is not something, I don't know, maybe way back in the 12th century, I don't know how many of you have heard of this term called Occam's razor. Okay? Anything that requires a very complex explanation, something is wrong with that explanation. And probably at its element is Occam's razor. And so, the most mature organizations are not the most complicated ones. They are the ones that keep asking, why does this step exist? Why is this movement necessary? Why are we applying this rule here? The solution needs a very thick manual, and which is a bit worrying that I have, because most of you have your ISO 9001 or 15001 or 14001 or 27001. I've always found those SOPs are impossible to be followed, because they're written in an arcane language with verbose. So we need something very, very simple. So essentially, if a solution needs a thick manual, it probably needs rethinking. So at this point in time, somebody may ask me a fair question, because I'm going to be slightly more provocative now to the Karakuri thinkers. So Karakuri focuses on prevention. And what about the root cause analysis that we are all told in PDCAs, right? Let me be precise. In classical world-class manufacturing, the sequence is usually this. You all know it better than I. A problem occurs, we do root cause analysis. Once the root cause is understood, we apply PDCA, right? Plan, Do, Check, Act. There is nothing wrong with this logic. The white paper talks a lot about discipline, monitoring, review, periodic upgrading the solution. But just see how does this actually take place in real life. The root cause analysis is often